The truth will set you free, but it's going to hurt. There's going to be a lot of pain in that process. There's an uncomfortable period. Like even my personal training coach, because the reality is that when we talk about stuff that is holding us back, there's whole underlying issues where it might be fear or things that I want to tell you. But if you talk the truth and you talk about what it is that is holding you back from that outcome, what you want to achieve, it will set you free.
Welcome, Nathan, the Profit Generator, one of our Profit First members here at Profit First Australia and New Zealand. We are going to have a chat today around you and your business and a little bit around why you chose to become certified in Profit First, but a lot around what you do, how you do it, and the people you help as well. So I'd love for you to do a bit of an intro for us if you...
Well, hello, Katie. Thank you for having me on board. So yeah, hey, Nathan Rigney, the Profit Generator, and I've been a Profit First advisor coming up to 5 years this year. So hopefully I get another plaque to put up there behind me. And yeah, and I guess the reason I sort of came about sort of doing this was that there had to be more in that space of helping clients, business clients. Me being, I guess I own an accounting practice, just for background reference. I knew there had to be something more, and I accidentally stumbled across the Profit First book during COVID, and I was just like, wow, I love this. And I think differently. I definitely think differently to a lot of people. To me, it was just like, I get it. And the thing is, what I like about Profit First is that, and what really drew me to it, is that um, your clients haven't done an accounting degree. So generally speaking, they don't know how to read a balance sheet or a profit and loss, but what they do understand is what is in their bank account, and that is real. And so I can just bring it back to what works instead of trying to shift and change. So that's me. I'm down here in the Shire, down near Cronulla. I say near Cronulla because I'm in Caringbah, and Cronulla is just a really good point to sort of just go, that's where you're at, near a beach.
Yeah, everyone knows it. Everyone knows that. And so tell us a little bit about how long have you been in business yourself?
It is coming up to 12 years, and it was an accidental business.
Tell us more about that.
Oh yeah. So I worked at this place, look, so I worked at one place for a very long time. Loved it there, outgrew it, went to another place, and it was also like, you know how like you had those moments where it's like the grass is greener on the other side, and then you get there and you're like, so I just basically started really hating my job so much that I would write down notes, but then I also had a lot of my contacts, clients reaching out to me saying, hey, I want to use you as an accountant. And the employer I had at the time just wasn't interested, right? They had many other things going on. And so from there, I just built up this business part-time. They were fully aware. And then it came to the point, I was like, well, you know what? I didn't really want to work for myself, but here I am. I'm going to give it a shot. And I guess the way I thought about it then was, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll just go and get a job. And that was just under 12 years ago.
And I think it's a common theme we hear with our clients as well, but also I'm sure there's plenty of accountants out there and bookkeepers and coaches who had the same experience, is we didn't always set out to be in business, yet we found ourselves in business. And even with, you have an accounting degree and I have a financial background as well, nobody really taught us how to manage the cash flow of the business.
Yeah. And that's a really good segue to sort of mention that, okay, an accountant, right? For our small business clients, the target client I have, which is $1 to $5 million of turnover, they think that the accountant does everything. Now, the reality is, okay, if we look at an accountant, there are so many different areas of accounting that you could focus in on if you want to, right? There is commercial accounting, which is basically big businesses where an accountant just sits in there and works for one client. There's auditors. They just check to make sure that what are on financial statements are real. And then we've got like tax agents like me and small business accountants. And then you've got bookkeepers, and then you've got forensic accountants. They're the ones who do actual look at, white collar crimes. So, and that's just the starting base. The point is that even in public practice, there are partners, or I guess owners of accounting firms, multi-firm accounting firms, where there are some partners that are just going to just concentrate on just tax law, right? They're very good at that. And others who might be like me that focus more on the business side of things. But the reality is that just because you go to an accountant doesn't mean that that accountant is automatically going to solve your problems. Where I'm probably a little bit different is that I understand there is that psychology piece behind what we do, why we do it. It's great to see actually even university degrees now, and even I haven't quite got to like professional bodies yet, but there are say university degrees now that actually in business focus on psychology. And psychology, it's a big word, but like if we just, it's just about all about going, well, why is it I do what I do? Why, what, where, how? And I think that this is where I'm different as an accountant. Like I'm so intrigued and interested in that I'm really good at that. But then if we say, for example, oh, I got a technical tax issue, I'll reach out to someone else for that specialized advice to then help my client. So we're all got our I guess, our uniqueness of what we really like and what we're drawn to. But it's really important that for any business client, any client in general, actually, whenever you're seeing engaging for any professional, really understand what is it that they do and how can they help me with the problem I got? What's the outcome you want? What is the problem you're solving?
And if we think about other accountants and bookkeepers and so on, who may be more general in nature, what would be your suggestion to them around helping them work out what's that thing that they love to do? How did you come across that understanding that you really do love the psychology around it and the cash flow part of it more so than just sitting purely doing tax all day, every day?
It's two parts, really. I mean, there's the pain. I see the pain that clients go through starting a business and then having nothing to show for it. And that has been my whole career. Like I've been in the accounting game since I was 19. I started out on the front desk. I'm now 43, 44 this year. And I guess what I've seen constantly over that whole time is clients who are really successful and those who are not. And for me, it's like, I want to help. I want to stop that fathom, that I want to stop that process where I started the business, but I got nothing to show for it. Because it's quite sad. And especially when you get to know people, right? You get to, as a small business accountant, you actually get to know your clients really well, especially ones that you're dealing with, the business clients, right? Where you're speaking to them regularly and you build up a relationship. I mean, I've literally cried when clients have left me, like it's, gone through hard times, or maybe it's just the straw that broke the camel's back style thing, right? But you get a little bit emotionally invested in the client as well. So I think just like a child or, a family member, a friend, you want to see the best for them. And so that is probably really the first reason that I sought out actually then doing the Profit First program. Now, secondly, for me, if you ever read, you got to read the E-Myth, right? So if anyone who's listening hasn't read the E-Myth, it's fantastic. And this really describes what I was going through in when I started my business. So when I was an employee, all I needed to worry about was getting the work done, basically fulfilling my budget, and then I get paid. But when you operate a business, it flips totally around. Yeah, sure. And when it started out, it was just me. And yeah, I still had to get the work done and it was all okay. But then things get complicated as you get bigger. So, as you add more sales and then you add employees, it gets a little bit more complex and it builds as you go. Now, is when I had 2 employees, I was doing this thing where, to start with, I could always pay the BAS on time, but then gradually I would have to wait until the BAS came to the due date to then have the cash to pay for it. And then one day what happened was the due date came, I didn't have the cash to pay the BAS. And as an FYI, if anyone is like, for our business client listeners right here, if a tax agent or a BAS agent doesn't comply with their lodgements and their payments, they potentially lose their license. So potentially that also means that you have no business. So for me, that was a sign to go, well, hey, even though I get the mechanics of accounting, I get the mechanics of a balance sheet, I get the mechanics of a profit and loss. What I didn't understand was my patterns and my relationship that I had with money. And so that was the second reason why. So it was really probably out of pure, I guess, hyper focusing, right? Hyper focusing, going, oh, I got a vested interest in this because I want to be successful. I want to be able to provide everything that I've always wanted for my family. Like when I was 8 years old, all I ever wanted was a BMW. Like, I don't know why, but like, I just always want the fun things in life. I didn't have that stuff. I mean, for us as a family, there was a crappy, you remember the Sigma, Mitsubishi Sigma? We had one of those. That was an all right car. And our holidays were going to Queensland. And they were always fantastic holidays. I got an emotional, connection to that spot. But, it wasn't until I was 25 that I went on an overseas holiday to the United States for the first time ever. And for me, I guess for what I want in my family, well, I wanted to provide a whole lot more. And there was that drive to go, oh, well, I now know the missing components. I need to understand it so then I can get what it is I want.
And I think that's a really important piece as well, that often our clients think that they have done something drastically wrong. And some of them have, of course, and typically they're not our type of clients, but most business owners are doing the best with what they know. And if they have an accountant or a bookkeeper, like you mentioned before, who isn't really specialized in this area, maybe they're not the right people to help them. And what we always talk about is having your financial team and having the right people in the right spots on your team who are specialists in that and know and understand it. Now, if they're going to somebody who has never had issues like you did and hasn't been through that, well, then it's very difficult for them to relate or even understand and offer that to a client because they've never had that situation. So I love how you've been able to take what you went through and went, hey, if I can go through this, I see my clients go through it. What's a solution that we can use to be able to help not struggle in business, because it doesn't have to be a struggle all of the time.
The one piece of advice that I would give anyone that's maybe starting out in this and wanting to do something is I'm going to gear you up for some reality. The truth will set you free, but it's going to hurt. There's going to be a lot of pain in that process. And I know through years of coaching and dealing with stuff, whether it's like, dealing with business coaches, my wife speaking to me about certain things, there's an uncomfortable period. Like even different, even my personal training coach, because the reality is that when we talk about stuff that is holding us back, right? There's whole underlying issues where it might be fear or things that I want to tell you, whatever. But then someone starts prodding, because that's what a coach typically does. They ask questions, right? They start prodding away and you feel uncomfortable. You start squirming in your chair, and because it's stuff you don't want to talk about. But if you talk the truth and you talk about what it is that is holding you back from that outcome, what you want to achieve, it will set you free. But getting to that journey, there is a period of it being quite hard and difficult. So I think once you get past that and you get through to the end, like close to the end, you're like, oh, the light, there's the light in the tunnel. And that's when things change. Now, what happens is naturally is that when you start doing this whole coaching thing, and whether it's me seeing a client, you seeing a client, or me, us being coached, to start with, like how difficult was it? Like how uncomfortable, but yet you went back and did it again. Like my first coach, Cole, one of our friends, because he was a friend that I knew through the gym, said, oh, what's it like coaching with Cole? I said, with Cole, I said, I sit there for an hour, and for the first half an hour, he grills me. And then the next 15 minutes, the 30 minutes to 45, I just want to hit him and just severely hurt him. And then the last 15 minutes of the hour, the light bulb turns on and I go, that's where you're taking me. But I had to go through that journey. So, but I think the end, what I would say after all of that is that it's like a muscle you build. You actually then get used to it. And sometimes then you get to the point where you actually invite the pain. You invite it in because it's like, I know I'm invincible. I know I'm going to get through the other end.
Mm. And you can, as you say, it's a muscle, it's a practice. Something's not working, you put your hand up, ask for help from the right person, you do what needs to be done, and you can move through and make the changes much, much quicker. And so tell me a little bit about your profit generator. Like, what does that mean to you in how you help your clients?
Look, it generally is, I just want to help clients generate that profit. I mean, I was looking at a client this morning, right? A client is going to come in tomorrow and we're going to do a whole day reset session. And I've given him a whole of homework of what he needs to fill in. We've had a look at the numbers. And I just want to throw this in as well. The thing is with a lot of business coaches is, what we say just standalone business coaches, is that they either focus purely just on sales and they just want to try and sell you out of a problem. That's like adding fuel to a fire that's out of control. The next thing is that they might be like, hey, sales, but then we might look at systems and processes, which is great because systems and processes are so important. But the one thing that a lot of business coaches leave out is that finance aspect, which is what we typically go over. So going back to the client that we're going to be seeing tomorrow for our one-day reset coaching program, looking at his salaries. Now, he is an electrician and his wages he's been taking out has averaged in the last 2 to 3 years between anywhere to $65,000 to $90,000. Now, looking at how much he earns, and by the way, there's no profit in this entity either, right? There's losses. So looking at as well on top of that, if he was to go get a job, he could be earning between 110 to 135,000 plus super. All right. So he's already under the salary range that you would expect you get as an employee. So it doesn't make sense. So you look at it logically and you go, well, why you just become an employee? You got no risk. You just turn up, you go home, you get holiday leave. And he's actually a specialist electrician as well. So looking at that, he should be on 150 plus super every year. Then at the bottom, there should be profit. Now, those three things are not sitting there. You know, he's not getting good market wage. There's no profit. And the third thing is he's not happy, right? Because he's just a slave to this business. So we're going to solve that. And really, it's going to be hard for him. But looking at it and going, well, you know what? You're not making what you should. So you either need to make some decision on what you're going to do. Draw that line in the sand. Yes, I'm going to work on it. It's going to be tough. And it's okay. Give up, get rid of the business and become an employee.
But at least you're going to give him clarity one way or the other.
Yeah. And then look, you know what? Become an employee, you're probably in a better financial position.
And I think that's the important part as well, is coming back to the coaches and so on. It's understanding what part of the business you need help with. Like if I have a car and it's running really rough and there's lots of smoke coming out of the exhaust and so on, I'm not going to the tire place to get my tires fixed and checked. So that's not the problem. It's still fixing my car, but that's not where the focus needs to be. And for many clients or for many listeners and out there, they'll be like, well, how do I know what I need to fix? And it's like, just have that conversation, just open up the question and ask, whether it be your current accountant, your current bookkeeper. And likewise, if you're an accountant, bookkeeper, or coach, and you're like, just ask the question. Because I think it's really, really important to focus on what needs fixing first, rather than just trying to put a Band-Aid on something else and hoping that it's going to solve the problem. So what I love about the profit generator, that for me implies, obviously, you're going to generate them more profit. But that doesn't automatically imply that you're going to tell them to focus on and get more sales. You can be simply generating more profit from the work they're already doing within the business. Because if I'm a overworked electrician and you come in and tell me to do more work, that's not going to happen. Whereas you can help them make more profit out of what they're already doing, like you're going to do with that electrician in that session tomorrow. So I think that's
yeah. I think as well, you want to give them the skills to be able to start seeing it themselves. So from an outset, I mean, I'm not in the business every day of the week with them. I'm not holding their hand. I'm not, but the financials then and a few other things they're filling in my forms does paint a bit of a picture. So it's a really good starting base for me to ask questions, right? But you want the client to be able to start seeing for themselves how they can improve where they're already at.
And that's that education piece for them. We want to be able to educate them, because often most business owners have never been taught around the financial side, and we want to be able to help them ask better questions.
Well, even that, hey, you know what? I go from being an employee to go running my own business. So if we're talking about tradies, you did a trade course, or, you did an accounting degree, or you did a degree in marketing, I don't know, whatever it is, right? But at the end of the day, if you got to decide what you want to do. Now, are you going to be someone who continues to be poor because you trade your time for just turning up the job? Or do you want to have a business? Well, if you want to have a business, you're going to have to actually start like you did with your trade, or whatever course, whatever you do, whatever your skill set is, you did some sort of course you learned. So now you're a business owner, you need to actually now learn how to be a business owner. So that means actually it's investing, whether it's investing in courses, it's investing with maybe more time with your accountant, your bookkeeper, those people around you who can assist you. But you need to invest that time to understand what it is to be a business owner. Now, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Go continue trading your time to get paid. But the thing is, you won't have a business, because when you go on a holiday and you stop, you're not going to, there's not that ongoing profit there. And you're always going to be really sort of complaining about, I don't have enough money coming in. The reason you have employees, right, essentially is because you basically invest your capital, everything you built up, into employing them in exchange for a profit on what they do. So if you effectively, like if you look at, say, for example, an employee and they cost $100,000 a year, well, if you want to work out how much you're going to charge them out, or basically to recover that cost, do you go, well, hey, I'm going to take $100,000, divide it by the number of weeks and the number of hours there are in a day and leave it and then charge that? Or do you go one step further? Of course, you go one step further because, you need to also factor in other costs, like, because they're not always going to be chargeable. They're not always going to be productive. It's going to be downtime when they're on holidays, public holidays, whatever else. But then also on top of that, once you get to that rate, well, you work out the true costs of what it is to have them out doing a job for an hour or whatever it is. You then need to factor in a profit component. Can you see how then, like, we're now starting to really understand the numbers? And it's like, once you start putting this information together and you've got the information there, then you can really start going, well, now I understand the mechanics behind how to make that final profit component.
Awesome. And if you could give 2 pieces of advice to finish off, one to other tax accountants out there and then one to a business owner, what would those pieces of advice be?
Other accountants, I would say the best thing you can do is start hanging out with other accountants and start reading. If you're the owner of a business, you need to step back and actually take time to start working on other areas of the business. So I would say that, hey, educate yourself, speak to others, and just broaden and open, like have a willingness to learn and understand, I guess, different concepts. And sorry, the second thing,
To the business owner, what would your recommendation would be to them?
to the business.
Probably, I mean, the advice.
Well, the business owner is probably actually the same. You've got to go actually learn to be a business owner. So yeah, 2 things. I would say that really, you really want to get to know yourself. Now you can do personality tests and you can do them for free. I think 16 personalities is one, but do a personality test to understand what you're really good at. All right. So I guess, and then also what your weaknesses are. Because then if you can, that's a good starting base, right? To kind of know who you are. But really do a self-discovery process. Because it's more than just learning the mechanics of how does business work. There's so much involved.
Awesome. Thank you, Nathan. We will put all Nathan's details below so you can reach out to him there. Nathan is also very active on Insta and does a lot of cool, fun education pieces over there as well. So make sure you check him
I
out.
love throwing up the short reel, the short content. And then we got like our long form podcast as well. So always willing to share heaps of information about different facets of business, just not accounting. I want business owners out there to be more profitable. I want them to actually get something in return for all their sweat, tears, and all the hard work that goes into being a business owner.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Nathan.
Thank you, Katie.